Today, I might be about to make the most horrible mistake because I'm about to turn this gorgeous vintage book from 1906 into an art journal. Is this complete sacrilege or is it upcycling at its best? Let's find out. So these are two gorgeous vintage books that I actually picked up at the Anwick bookstore when I was there on holidays. This a gorgeous bookshop that just has loads of stuff in it. It's a converted railway, and I spent ages looking for a vintage book because I knew I wanted one to turn into an art journal. This is a beautiful French book. The pages are beautiful and delicate. I absolutely love it. Now what you're seeing me do here is take out about every third page, and the reason being, as you start to art in a journal, as you know, that the pages get thicker and you can end up with a bit of a gator mouth journal. It looks really chunky. Now because this is a vintage book, that could end up putting quite a bit of strain onto the spine. So by taking out every third page, you just mean that the pages have been taken out evenly, rather than you get halfway through the book and need to tear the second half out and then it looks silly on the spine. So we can see we've taken quite a bit of the bulk out there, and we have loads of spare paper left. That will probably become embellishments in this journal, or it will become a junk journal in its own right at a later date. So straight away I am using one of those spare bits of paper because I don't want that big image in the background of my page. So I've taken a spare bit and I am just going to stick that down over so we have that nice soft vintage sort of slightly stained background. And then the last little scrap that was there, waste not want not, I am sticking down onto the side of the book just because it was there. I tend to do that a lot. Now obviously these papers have definitely not been designed for mediums, so I end up putting a layer of gesso down first just to give the page a little bit more stability to work on. Now I had noticed right at the beginning of the book the spine was quite delicate and the pages looked like they were going to come out, so I actually used masking tape. I could have used washi tape, but I still wanted that sort of soft vintage tone, so I ended up just using masking tape. I really didn't know what I was doing with this page. I was just excited to work in the book but didn't have a clear plan of what was going to occur. So I started off with watercolours and it just looked a little bit washed out. But I have recently got these tempera sticks from Shuttle Art. These are a kids' art supply and they are great fun. And so I just sort of started putting colour down. Very loose, scribbly background. I've really embraced this style since working in Chantel's book. These hideous clouds came out of nowhere. For some reason I don't have the footage of that, but I tried to knock them back by adding more white gesso and more detail at the front because I really don't like what occurred there. I keep fiddling to try and improve the situation, but yeah, I like clouds, but they are quite hideous. To add a bit more detail, I do a little bit of stamping over the overall background, and then this is where it came to life. This was almost a little bit like a reverse colouring page. I put loads of different colours down and then taking an acrylic marker just started doodling little flowers on top, and I have to say at this stage I was absolutely loving how it was coming together. And as you can see, these are not like perfect drawings, they're literally just little squiggles. And again, as I was saying earlier, I've really sort of embraced this storybook style of colour going outside the lines and all looking very scribbly and loose. I'm absolutely in love with this style at the moment. So I kind of put that across the whole page, trying to do it with the clouds as well, just to try and rescue them and make them look a little bit better. And I have to say at this point, I did actually take some photographs of these pages because I think they would make cool papers in the future. I finished it off with lots of little dots just to kind of give it a bit more whimsy and sparkle. And then because it's me, I did take a picture, as I said, because I think it would make cool papers, but I still like a focal point on my particular pages. So I took some elements from the Bumblebuzz digital collection, cut them out and stuck them down, and then I just needed to add a little bit of shadow. I always think that that helps, especially when you're kind of doing collage sort of style things or putting papers on top. You still want it to look like part of the page. And I find the easiest way to do that is to do some shadowing. That was way too dark, but I managed to discover that if I just sort of put it down and then I knocked it back with the putty rubber to get to the right amount of shading that I wanted. And yeah, and now it looks like it's sunk into the page rather than you've just stuck something on top of it. It is me, so we do need to finish with a doodly border. For some reason, to me, a page is naked without a doodly border. And I have got some sentiments again from that Bumblebuzz collection. I'm just edging them in black so they pop off the page a little bit more. and sticking them down. And that is this first page complete. I'm not sure how I feel about it as the opening page of the journal. It's not my best work, but it's okay. I do quite like it. But yeah, so that is page number 1 of this vintage journal. So this one I didn't put gesso down first, I just went straight in with some Shuttle Art acrylic paint. And again, I thought I'd go for a scene, and I pulled out some scrap papers. These are scraps from the Sherbet Fizz paper pad and from the Curious Wonders paper pad, and I'm just going to make a little collage scene. And this is so easy to do and a great way of using up any piles of scrap papers that we do tend to accumulate. And I think it's, as I said, it's really fun, and it's just shapes. Don't be scared of it. It's just, these are squares and circles and rectangles, and they're very loose. I'm taking a photograph so I can remind myself of the layout, because me being me, I can't just stick it down as is. There's just a couple of extra steps I like to do to help make that collage pop. The first is to edge it with like a distress ink, so we have a little bit of shade and tone in there, that it's like we have slightly darker edges. So I do that with every single piece that we have. I sort of take a coordinating colour that matches what it is, and we'll just add a little bit of depth to that particular shape and add that on. Once I have done that, I then take every single piece again and give it a black edging with the edge of my, this is a Hoo-Hoo marker, but any sort of alcohol marker or the wide chisel nib, I just sort of edge it. Again, using my photograph as reference, I'm now going to start assembling the various elements. So we've got the little houses and the little trees, and then we are getting them all ready to pop onto the page. And I just think they do look a lot better with those extra details. We will add more details again in a little bit, but for now, until we stick it on the page, that will do. So now sticking things down like this, I tend not to glue to the edge so that I still have tuckability room. I still have the ability to sort of peel back slightly and tuck things behind. And for me, that is the easiest way of being able to kind of add it to the page and to make it work. Once I have it all sort of tucked down, I then sort of go in and glue the edges afterwards. And I think this is a really fun little quirky scene. It's so bright. I quite like the contrast of the really vintage background, and you've got the vintage book and it's from 1906 and it looks really old, and then you've got this bright modern colour palette, and I think that is fabulous. I'm adding some more doodles because I think that is fun. I also add these sort of little stitch details. I think it helps all sort of sync together and look like it was part of the page, and I quite like the idea of it looking like it is stitched into the page. And then I have taken a sentiment. This is from the freebie that is part of the hobby school class that I am doing. This is a free event for 3 days. There are 30 different classes from various artists and things, and each class has a free gift as well. And you can join for the three days and enjoy it all for absolutely nothing. So the link will be in the description box below. So I have this sketch in my sketchbook of this mushroom, and I really fancied trying that. So I am going to paint directly into this page using acrylic inks. Now, full disclosure, I am not very good with acrylic. I say acrylic inks, they are acrylic paints. I lied, they're acrylic paints. So these are from Shuttle Art. I bought these to do my faraway tree makeover, and I am still trying to kind of use them in art, different things. But as I said, these are not my preferred medium, so I'm a little bit of a novice and I'm just trying to work it out as I go along. So you will see me struggle. We get there in the end, but it was a struggle. So it's a lesson. If it's not right, it's not the end. So I started off with this pink underpainting. I really wanted this sort of like dark night sky and a purple mushroom for some reason. I really wanted to try and create a glowing mushroom, but in hindsight, I mean, to be honest, it's fairly obvious, but I should have had a reference of a glowing mushroom or something, because I had no reference, and so I was making it all up in my head, and that's never good. Use a reference, guys. Even if you're just colouring a colouring book, references be good things. So anyway, I do block all the colour in just to start off with. Really definitely needed that background a lot darker, so I ended up adding some black into that ultramarine blue, because I still don't like to use a solid black. I think it looks quite dead for one, or I wasn't allowed to use it in school. We weren't allowed to use black, and I think it's kind of stuck with me. So yeah, I've kind of added a little bit in, tried to deepen some of the areas and start to play with light, but to be honest, I was really struggling. I was finding it hard to layer lighter colours on top for some particular reason, and maybe I wasn't leaving it to dry long enough, or as I said, I just don't have enough experience with acrylic paint. So I kind of get to about this stage and I was kind of going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and getting nowhere. So once I kind of finish this little section, I resort to pulling out acrylic markers, because although I'm an alcohol marker girly, I have become a lot more familiar with acrylic markers. So as I said, I'm just getting the basic shadows in here, and then we will switch it out in order to help to make life a little bit easier to me. I'm obviously not switching it out quite as well or as soon as I thought. Anyway, we will get there. At the minute I'm putting this kind of like fluorescent yellow on, which was helping to lift it, but not enough. And there we go. See, I told you the markers were coming. Just, yeah. So I'm trying to kind of just put pops of lighter colour just to make it look a bit brighter and to give it a bit of a painterly look. I'm trying to add yellow here to make it look like it's glowing, and I'm sort of mixing the paint marker and that fluorescent yellow paint to try and create lighting effects. I do start to get really heavy-handed here and add absolutely loads of yellow, but then realised that's a bit of a mess as well. I did tell you that we go back and forth on this quite a lot. So I liked it, but then thought, no, that's far too yellow. And so after I had kind of completely covered everything in these yellow dots, I then come back with the ultramarine blue and black again and just sort of stipple in amongst it, so it looks more like a lighting effect. And I think once I'd done that, I was slightly happier with how it was. Again, I've pulled in some of the spare paper that we'd taken out of the book because I thought it would be quite cool to add the mushroom spots. I was quite liking in the other pages how that text and vintage thing was sneaking through, but because the paint that I used was just so dark and so heavy, I'd kind of lost that. So as I said, I did that with the mushroom spots, and the same way I sort of added extra colour by just putting a bit of distress ink around the edges, and then pop these little things on as spots, and I think they look really cute. I really like it. At this point it's beginning to come together and I'm beginning to like it a bit more. So we go in, and again I'm going with that really loose sketchy look. I'm not particularly keeping the line work around the colours. There's a bit of colour inside and outside the line, and I'm just keeping it really loose and scribbly, and I absolutely love that. And I think especially when there's paintings that you're maybe not 100% sure of, that this technique works really well because it makes it look really scribbly and deliberate, and like the messiness is deliberate. So that's why I like it. And of course it's me and I'm doing something glowy, so we need to add fireflies. So I gradually sort of build those little bits up there and add a few little white scribbles, and that is this page all done as well. And I have to say I struggled the most with this one, but I think it may be my favourite page of everything that we have done today. So in a recap, we have this one that we did with the Tempera Sticks and the Bumble Buzz collection. It's okay. I wish it wasn't the first page of my book, but it's okay. I love this collage one. I love its fact it's bright and zingy and how it contrasts. And then we have this gorgeous mushroom. Thank you so much for watching. So what do you think? Would you do this to a vintage book? Have I ruined it? Or not? I would love to know your thoughts. If you like the idea of having an art journal that's just a little bit different to all of those out there on the market, you may enjoy these next couple of videos as well. And I will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.